Welcome on the pure wisdom, chosen one. A hurricane never apologizes for the devastation it leaves behind. It was never intended to be polite. Neither were you. They believed they could break you. They attempted to suppress, bury, and deprive you of your authority. But they never realized you are not from this earth. You're something far larger, something they could never comprehend. They were not battling you. They were battling the universe. And now, the universe is fighting back. They branded you insane, made you question yourself, and told you that your light was only a flicker in the dark. But tell me, if you're so impotent, why do they dread you so much? Why were they so determined to dull something they claimed wasn't shining? Before we go any further, please understand that your being here is not by chance. The cosmos communicates in whispers and signals. This is one of them. Like and subscribe, not for vanity or statistics, but because when you participate, you notify the system that this message is important. And as it spreads, more of the selected ones awaken. Because the time to hide is done. Have you always known you were different? That pull, that restlessness, that insatiable want for something greater. It was not a coincidence. It was a call. The cosmos has been preparing, sculpting, and putting you through the fire so that you may emerge untouchable. Pain, solitude, and betrayal. None of it was punishment. It was a training session. They laughed as you battled. They ridiculed you as you fell. However, they were unaware that each scar had become a symbol. Every wound is a weapon. They were not breaking you. They forged you, and now they're afraid. You see, the power of being selected haunts your adversaries. It persists in their memories, keeps them up at night, because they know. They tried everything to stop you, and yet you're still here. They can see the transformation occurring. They can sense the tides shifting deep inside. They know that time is running out. The world is moving. The structures that kept you back are falling. The energy that previously crushed you is being stripped away, and in its stead, you rise, no longer alive. No more wondering, but claiming what has always been yours. The cosmos has always sided with you. It was never a question of whether you'd climb. It was only a question of when. And now the solution is obvious. The time is now. The time for uncertainty is past. You do not need to obtain permission. You don't need validation. You were picked, and nothing can prevent what is coming. So, are you actually prepared to walk into what has already been written for you? The cosmos does not spend time on the chosen. It only summons those who are intended to climb. If you sense this message in your soul, please leave the number 77 in the comments. A sign that you are ready to move on from the past and embrace the future. This is not just another message. This is a summons to the first to be crowned. Before we go further, press the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. When you do so, you tell the system that this communication needs to reach more of your selected recipients. We rise together. And now, let's take it step by step. If you are the genuine chosen one, you will feel compelled to remain until the finish. Let me begin. Number 1, the House of Lies is on fire, and they can't rescue themselves. They created a fortress out of illusions, believing they dominated. But the walls are falling, and they're stuck inside their own deceit. They believe they had you in check. They were trapped in a game that they had rigged from the beginning. They spent years telling falsehoods, creating systems to control, imprison, and ruin you before you ever realized who you were. But they made a grave error. They had forgotten that the cosmos never loses. And when you are selected by the cosmos, you do not have to follow their laws. You shattered them. They used chains to tie you. They were never real, just cleverly produced illusions meant to make you question, to leave you feeling helpless, to make you believe you had no way out. But once you saw through the deception, everything began to come apart. Look about you. What previously seemed to be unbreakable is crumbling. People who insulted you doubted you, and now you're rushing to save a system from crumbling under its own weight. They believed they had control, but it was never theirs to retain. They urged you to keep tiny and follow the road set out for you. They warned you that straying beyond the lines would lead to failure, bankruptcy, and loneliness. And yet, here you are, still standing, still rising, and proving them all wrong. If you were as feeble as they said, why did they try so hard to keep you down? Because they knew. They understood that once you awoke, nothing could stop you. They knew. The game ended as soon as you realized your power. They were not terrified of your failure. They were afraid of your success. Do you believe that was simply poor luck? Just coincidences that attempted to shatter? Do you know? They knew who you were before you knew yourself. They saw your light before you did, and they attempted everything to dim it. This is why they sent diversions. This is why they sent betrayals. This is why they sent agony. It was all meant to make you wonder, pause, and doubt. And yet, here you are. The cosmos never abandons us. It was picked. It is aligned. It shifts. It orchestrates. Every time they attempted to kill you, the cosmos utilized it to create you. Every conflict made you sharper. Every loss teaches you something. They didn't want you to know. You were never their prisoner. You were their reckoning. They never had a chance against someone who was meant to succeed. Despite this, some of you continue to hesitate. Some of you are still questioning your value. Why? How could you question yourself now? After all you've been through and accomplished, do you believe you've traveled this far by accident? Do you believe the universe would waste time on someone who was not intended for more? You were selected for a purpose. But listen carefully. Being selected is more than simply about surviving. It's about fully and unashamedly claiming your power. You don't just escape the system. You become the system. You don't just walk away. You create something they cannot touch. They believe they were playing you, but they were really playing against forces beyond their comprehension. The cosmos does not lose, and neither do you. The old methods are disintegrating. The illusions are on fire, and they have no way of putting them out. The masks they wore to preserve their hold on power were slipping, and the barriers they created to keep you and were crumbling. And the same system they said would last forever is disintegrating under their feet. You do not beg for permission to shine. You set the standard. This planet does not belong to them anymore. It belongs to you. And no matter how hard they struggle or how frantically they grab at the wreckage of what they once held, nothing can halt what has already started. You were never intended to blend in. You were never intended to follow. You were always destined to lead. And now, take a step forward. Now you're claiming what was always yours. You are now leaving for good, because they are the first to be crowned, are not the ones who waited. They are the ones who stole what they already had. Number 2, an uncontrollable fire, and the whole globe senses it. A wildfire does not beg for permission to burn. It just devours everything in its path. That's what your genuineness accomplishes. It destroys the illusions they use to drive you to pursue a road of obedience that was never yours to begin with. They wanted you to blend in, to be just another piece in their meticulously crafted jigsaw. But the trouble is that you were never meant to be put in a box. You were never intended to be governed. And that scares them. Your honesty is more than simply a personal truth. This is a natural force. It is disruptive. It dismantles. It exposes. Your own existence is a protest against the old structures, against the passive submission that they had spent generations imposing. They do not just fear your words. They are afraid of the flames in your presence. Because you exhale with every stride you take. You create change, and change is the last thing they wanted. You were not born to bow. You were not born to follow. You were born to lead. To command. The very powers of the cosmos are aligned behind you. They understand this. That's why they work so hard to make you doubt yourself, shrink, and pause before stepping into your true strength. They never wanted you to wake up because they knew that if you did, all they had created would crumble. And now you stand, no longer bowing, apologizing, or seeking acceptance from a system that was never intended to hold you. Your energy alone vibrates the earth under them. Your presence changes the air they breathe. You are the storm they said would never arrive. And the whole globe, the whole world is watching. They see you, even those who won't confess it. They empathize. They sense the disturbance, the change, and the unmistakable power of someone who can no longer be controlled. Those who formerly disregarded you laughed and questioned you. They no longer have the luxury, because, in fact, people cannot ignore what is going on. You create ripples, which develop into waves. And those waves break against the fundamental foundations that previously held mankind sleeping. You're not a whisper. You are the reckoning. And let us be clear, you did not come here to beg for change. You've come here to be the change. The cosmos does not ask you to be someone else. It does not need you to shape yourself into an image that others find comfortable. No, the cosmos picked you just as you are. Your voice is full of fire, passion, and sincerity. It was never intended to be hushed. It was intended to burn away the delusions. They constructed their universe on the basis of falsehoods. And now you're the earthquake breaking everything apart. This is why they are resisting you. This is why they work so hard to silence you. Because your very presence proves that their time has passed. And the more they struggle, the more desperate they grow, the more obvious it is that they have already lost. You weren't here to comply. You were never here to bend your head and follow the route they set for you. No, you were instructed to go through the flames and escape unscathed. You were dispatched to set fire to the systems that attempted to imprison you. Now, there is no going back. People can no longer pretend not to notice it. They can no longer ignore that something greater is occurring, that the world is moving, that old systems are breaking down, and that a new order is emerging, one that no longer serves the controllers but rather the awakened, who are at the heart of it all. You are an uncontrollable fire, the storm that cannot be halted, the chosen one who is always meant to lead the way. Number 3, the walls are breaking and they are unable to stop it. When truth enters the room, falsehoods disperse like flies exposed to light. That is why they fear you. That is why they are resisting you. Because you are the light. They can't run away anymore. They feel it, even if they don't express it. Even if they reject it with every breath, they understand that something is changing, something uncontrollable. And you're in the core of it. The old world was based on deceit, which kept people blind, submissive, and terrified. They developed a system in which quiet was rewarded, where questioning was punishable, where straying beyond the bounds resulted in banishment. They required you to question yourself, because if you stopped doubting, you were a danger. And now, you now exist as a living contrast to what they created. Simply being yourself exposes their system as a falsehood. That's why they're fighting so hard. That is why the opposition is so strong. Because just being there causes them to see what they do not want to see. You uncover the truth. They have spent their whole lives running away. When a dam begins to fracture, the deluge is unavoidable. You're that crack. They are aware of the impending deluge. But here is the reality. They don't want to recognize that opposing you is ineffective. They may attempt to quiet you, mock you, or toss you away. They may attempt to impede your progress, manipulate, lie, and pretend you don't notice what's going on. But this is the reality. The transition is already in action. This is not just about you. This isn't just about them. This is larger than any of us. The universe has spoken, and no power, system, falsehood, or delusion can oppose it. They teased you when you first awoke. They disregarded you as lost, mad, or just not fitting in. But it was never an insult. This was confirmation. You weren't expected to fit into a system built to keep people sleeping. Now, the same people who mocked you, they are monitoring you. They may not confess it yet, but their attention is on you. They may not know why, but their energy is pulled to you. They're still fighting and clinging on to what is disintegrating. But deep down, they know you're ahead of them. And whether they like it or not, they are following your example. Those who scoffed at you will eventually repeat your comments as if they were their own. But let us be clear. You did not come here to seek affirmation from people who previously rejected you. You do not need their permission. You never did. You aren't waiting for them to get up. You're not slowing down to make them feel comfortable. You're going ahead, with or without them, because the era of illusions is finished. This is the period of truth, and you are its most vibrant flame and fire. Fire doesn't beg for permission to burn. They cannot proceed at this time. They have no influence over what is already in motion. They are able to resist. They can fight, but they can't win, because something is larger than them. This is larger than you. This is the universe, realigned itself. The only ones who will survive this transformation are those who choose to accept it. The home is now on fire. The only option left is to burn with it or try something new. And you already know where you stand. You're not frightened. You've known all along that this was your intention, to demolish the flaws and construct the genuine. You're not here to play tiny. You're not here to make people feel comfortable. You have come to destroy the old and bring out the new. So let them resist. Allow them to doubt. Allow them to cling to their dying fantasies. It makes no difference since you're already on the route others are afraid to go, and eventually they will follow, even if they haven't realized it yet. Number 4, they attempted to bury you. They are now running away from your light. They labeled you an idiot. However, they're now observing every movement you make. They attempted to obliterate you, but they're now whispering your name. They never wanted you to succeed, but now they are unable to keep up. The systems that attempted to control you. They failed every rule they created, every illusion they created, every effort to stay you could discover. Everything shattered when you realized you never needed them. They built their power on deceit, keeping you tiny, and convinced you that you were nothing without their approval and affirmation. But look at yourself now, standing in the flames they swore would devour you, unshaken, honest, and unstoppable. They attempted to undermine your authority in order to make you question your own might. But all they did was drive you farther into your awareness. All they did was add gasoline to the flames. Every effort to shatter, you simply made your edges sharper. Every door they shut in your face forced you to establish your own empire. And now they stand in the shadow of your power, silently observing, hoping you won't see how they struggled to keep up with a route you easily build. The same people who scoffed at you are now struggling to match your steps, but they will never be able to sense you were never intended to follow. You were destined to lead, and this is what they despise the most. You're not waiting. You aren't waiting for them to catch up. You are not holding back in order to make them feel comfortable. You are advancing ceaselessly, with or without them. They assumed you needed their consent. They assumed you required their approval. But you don't ask for what you already have. You lead because it's who you are, because the cosmos has chosen you for this, because every struggle, every suffering, every moment of uncertainty, it had all been leading up to this. They attempted to bury you, but forgot. You are the seed. You have outgrown their limitations. They created barriers that can no longer contain you. They play games that are beneath you. You have totally and unashamedly embraced your power. Now, there's no going back. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Allow them to pretend they are unaware of the change that is taking place in front of them. But they can sense it. They sense the weight of your presence. They recognize the truth of their diminishing influence. They can sense the walls closing in on the system. They promised they'd never fall. A lion does not seek permission to roar. A hurricane makes no apologies for the havoc it causes. And you don't shrink to make others feel secure. You're here to create something fresh, to lead a movement. They can't stop to enter a world where their illusions have no force. You're not waiting. You aren't hesitant. You're breaking through, and nothing can stop you. Now, number 5, they threw the first stone. Now they tremble in your presence. Those who mocked your anguish are now choked with sorrow. The people who dismissed you now speak your name in silent humiliation. They harmed you and assumed they would never face the repercussions. But the cosmos doesn't forget. They once ridiculed you. They used to take delight in your agony. They twisted the knife, certain you'd never rise. They talked against you with confidence, believing that their comments had weight. They assumed they had complete control over you. But now, they can now sense the change. They can no longer deny what they have seen. And it scares them. The ancient methods of manipulation, the techniques they use to control and break you. Everything shattered at your feet. The falsehoods they uttered were revealed. The delusions they sustained eroded the power they believed they had lost. And here they are, humbled and unstable, attempting to rewrite the past. They promised they would never catch up with them. They labeled you insane, and now they want your advice. They laughed at your suffering, and now they're drowning in their own. They slammed the doors in your face. They now stand before them, knocking. You do not even need to talk. You do not need to remind them of their shortcomings. That is accomplished by your very being. The fact that you survived what was intended to destroy you speaks louder than any words could ever do. They see you, and seeing you forces them to look at themselves. Those who formerly injured you now bear the consequences of their decisions. They feel it in the stillness, in the empty places where their pride once stood, in the times when they get a glance of you and realize you were never the weak one. They attempted to quiet you, hide your truth, and crush your spirit. And now they approach you with quivering palms and things they never expected to speak. Sorry, but this is not about them. It was never about them. Their remorse does not change the past. Their apologies do not remove the wounds. The only thing their guilt accomplishes is confirm what you already know. They understood precisely what they were doing. They noticed your brilliance, and instead of defending it, they attempted to extinguish it. And now they must confront the cosmos. The cosmos never forgets. The universe never allows injustice to go unpunished. Finally, there's the reckoning. It's arrived. You're no longer responsible for the consequences of their conduct. Allow them to sit in the ruins they built. Allow them to confront the stillness they previously imposed on you. Justice has already been administered since you are still present. They can never reverse it. Number 6, you were the storm all along. They are now unable to flee. They dreaded your ascension because it would reveal their flaws. They erected fences, placed traps, and created illusions. But that was never enough because you were never supposed to be imprisoned. You were the storm. They cannot stop. They believed they did. You figured it out. They believed they had broken you. Every impediment they erected before you. Every trick they utilized. Every illusion they created. It was all planned to keep you little, to keep you questioning, and to prevent you from discovering how strong you actually are. But here's the problem with illusions. They only function if you don't look through them. And you shattered them all. You were never feeble. You were never lost. You were just waking up. And suddenly there's no force. Not their rules, control, or terror. That might prevent you from advancing. The barriers they constructed were never sturdy enough. The shackles they made were never sufficiently tight. And the instant you determined to ascend, their power vanished. Now, stride forth, unshaken and unstoppable. They were the ones left behind, scrambling, desperate, forced to confront their own darkness. The same people who ridiculed you, Now they stare up at you, recognizing you have become something they will never be able to touch. And you do not look back. Nothing remains for you amid the rubble of their authority. Nothing remained in the previous systems. The old falsehoods, the old cycle. You've outgrown them all. Your power is not in the past. Your power is not in what was. It's in what's coming. The future belongs to you. The entire horizon stretches before you, limitless, waiting for you to claim it. You were never imprisoned. You were only waiting to recall who you were. And now you have. There's no stopping you. They understand it now. They sense it. Their quiet conveyed terror, the hesitation in their motions. The weight of the truth bears down on them. You become something they couldn't contain. They can't do anything about it. Number 7. The light they attempted to conceal now blinds them. They attempted to dull you, but only made you shine brighter. They attempted to silence you, but now your voice reverberates across all they've made. They attempted to bury you, but forgot you were a seed. They believed they could confine you. They believed they could delete you. Every lie they said, every strategy they used, every barricade they constructed, it was all intended to keep you in the shadows, to make you question and vanish. However, they failed because you were never intended to be concealed. The instant they attempted to repress you, they sealed their own doom. Every effort to dull your brightness fanned the fire inside you. Every treachery, assault, and barrier, everything became gasoline. It polished rather than broke you. It made you unstoppable, not weaker. They expected darkness to overtake you, but instead, your brightness consumed the night. And now, they now have no option but to watch something they cannot conceal. You are entirely in your power, unshaken, unafraid. The same people who ridiculed you before now drop their gaze in your presence. The same people who attempted to silence you. Now you can hear your voice anywhere, because you no longer play tiny. You're no longer begging for room. You're taking it. You're no longer bending to make others comfortable. You're no longer awaiting authorization. You're here completely, proudly, and unabashedly. They can't do anything about it. The light they shot has soared and cannot be extinguished. Number 8. Their treachery was like fire. You become the flame. They attempted to break you because they could never equal you. They turned against you out of dread of what you will become. However, their treachery did not destroy you. It just polished you. You felt the knife in your back, didn't you? The ache of betrayal by someone you previously trusted. They were meant to stand by you. Family, friends, and loves. They were given the option of rising with you or rejecting you. They repeatedly picked the latter. They didn't just walk away. They attempted to destroy you. Why? Because your strength was too great for them to bear. Your presence revealed everything they intended to keep secret. They recognized something in you that they couldn't find inside themselves. Instead of learning from it, they're tearing it down. They ridiculed your aim, not because it wasn't true, but because they were afraid it was the moment you started to soar. They became your biggest adversary, not strangers, not enemies from the outside, the people closest to you, because nothing scares weak souls more than the sight of someone moving into their actual strength. They reacted angrily. They downplayed your discomfort, rejected your progress, and attempted to persuade you that you were the issue. They wanted you to second-guess yourself, to hesitate, to lower your light just enough to make them feel at ease. However, you were never intended to fit in with the commonplace. They attempted to break you because they could not be you. Every betrayal, scar, and rejection. This was all part of the process. You were not being penalized. You were being honed. You were being robbed of your illusions, forced to confront the reality about who you are and who is never intended to walk with you. Because the fact is that not everyone is destined to go where you're going. Not everyone is built for the heights you are meant to achieve. And those who decided to betray, it was their decision. The price they will pay is to watch you rise while knowing they no longer have a place alongside you. And now they sit in their own stillness, watching and yearning. However, they will never again have access to you. You weren't broken. You were reborn. And now all they can do is watch you become everything they said you would never be. Number 9, they fueled the flames. And now you're burning brighter than ever. They believe they were breaking you, but they just sharpened you. They hoped their treachery would deter you. However, it merely cleared your path. Every wound they caused became the fuel that set you free. They played their games, didn't they? They toyed with your emotions, twisted your trust, and pretended that your existence in their life was something to be dismissed. They have deceived you, rejected you, tried to persuade yourself that you were the issue, but they were mistaken. Every time, they underestimated you. Every time they chose falsehood above devotion, they sealed their own destiny. Because instead of breaking you, they only stoked the fire. Every betrayal served as a lesson. Every denial resulted in a reroute. Every time they attempted to push you down, you rose. Even higher. They believed they could confine you. They believed that their words, deeds, and manipulation would be enough to keep you little. But they didn't realize who they were dealing with. You were never intended to be governed. You were never supposed to remain little. You were never supposed to be anything short of unstoppable. For too long, you bore the brunt of their rejection. You held the sorrow of being misunderstood, abandoned, and deemed too much for them to manage. However, they failed to grasp that their rejection was never your responsibility. It was their vulnerability, fear, and unwillingness to stand behind someone who refuses to be imprisoned. And now, you have now released everything. You let it to drift away like dead leaves in the wind. Because you've had enough of bearing the weight of those who were never strong enough to walk with you. Their absence isn't your loss. This is your emancipation. You are moving ahead wholeheartedly, without hesitation or apologies. There's nothing they can do to stop you. The past no longer defines you. The anguish no longer has influence over you. You're free. You are ascending. They can only watch. Number 10, you were never intended to play their game, and their world is disintegrating. They created the rules with the intention of keeping you tied by them. They constructed the system with the expectation that you would never challenge it, but they failed to account for one thing. You were never intended to follow. For so long, they controlled what was possible. They instructed you on who to be, how to think, and where to stand. They separated individuals into boxes. I labeled them. They were trapped within invisible cages. They believed their illusions were powerful enough to affect reality itself. But now everything is falling, not by force or revolt, but by something far bigger, the intensity of your energy. They didn't see it coming. They never knew that merely living in their truth might bring down a whole system. But this is precisely what is occurring. The labels they adhered to were meaningless. The divides they imposed were impotent. The fortifications they created are already crumbling to dust. They believed they had produced something indestructible, but you were never a part of their lives. You are always beyond it. You ascend, not based on their metrics, approval, or design. You soar because your enthusiasm surpasses whatever they've constructed. You go ahead without seeking their approval. You're not bound by their rules since they were never valid to begin with. They attempt to hold on. They strive to fortify the obstacles so that they may cling to the old methods and persuade themselves that the transformation is not taking place. But they can sense it. They feel the earth move under them, the barriers crumbling and the illusions disintegrating. The more they resist, the quicker everything comes apart. You do not break the system by battling it. You undermine it by making it unimportant. This is precisely what you've done. While they struggle to save a fading planet, you slide smoothly past it. You are no longer bound by the past, or its obsolete views. You live in a realm that others cannot grasp. This is why they fear you, because you demonstrate that they never had control to begin with. You climb not by conflict or strife, but through the simple but irresistible truth. You were never intended to be confined, and now all they can do is watch number 11. You were never supposed to rescue them, just to climb. A lighthouse does not ask ships to come ashore. It just glows, and those who are prepared will find their path. Your presence is disruptive not because you push it to be, but because it cannot help but be. When you enter a place, the energy alters. Not because you're the loudest speaker, not because you demand attention, but because your very being causes the truth to emerge. They sense it. The weight of their illusions, the falsehoods they've built their lives on, and the darkness they've buried deep inside themselves, expecting to never face them. And when they see you standing in your truth, unshaken and indomitable, it frightens them because you are evidence that the game never existed. The system was never unbreakable, that everything they believed in was painstakingly created. They spent their whole lives constructing a prison just to watch you go free. But listen to this now. You're not here to rescue them. Your ascension is not an invitation. Your path is not theirs to follow. This path is their own. They must pick it for themselves. You're not their rescuer. You never were. For too long, you bore the burden of others. You sought to bring them with you. I tried to make them see what you saw. I tried to wake them up when they were not ready. But now, you are now free of that weight since you came to a tremendous realization. You're no longer bound by their decisions. Their restrictions don't define you. Their concerns will not keep you back. Their refusal to develop is no longer your concern. Some will reawaken, some won't, but neither will prevent you from asserting your influence. You have entered a new domain, one in which truth and energy are the only currencies, where dishonesty is not tolerated, where masks slip away and illusions dissipate. And only those who are properly prepared may walk beside you. The remainder will be left behind, not because you want to hurt them or because you despise them, but because they picked their world and you chose your own. This is not unkind. This isn't arrogance. This is the way things are. A butterfly does not return to its cocoon to persuade caterpillars that wings exist. And you're done attempting to persuade people who refuse to see that you're going on without hesitation, apology, or waiting for anybody to catch up. You are not sent here to bring people out of the flames. You were assigned to go through it and come out unscathed. And now you're rising, unshackled, unstoppable, and free of the weight of those who were never intended to walk with you. This is your fate, and you're finally embracing it. Number 12 represents the force of your spiritual mission. Unshaken, unstoppable, unmatched. When the cosmos beckons, it doesn't whisper, it roars. And those who are prepared will hear it in their hearts. How often have you questioned yourself? How many times have you looked in the mirror and wondered yourself, am I truly meant for something greater? Or am I simply another face in the mob, lost in the noise? Allow me to tell you something. Stop questioning your power. It's time to quit doubting your value, talents, and potential. For much too long, you've allowed doubts to seep in, clouding your vision and preventing you from fully realizing your potential. You've let the world tell you who you should be and how to behave. Stay in line and reduce yourself to fit into the little places provided for you. But it isn't you. You were never intended to blend in. You were never designed to bury your brilliance behind darkness. You were born to stand out, to exceed the restrictions they've placed on you, to follow your divine mission, like the unstoppable power you were born to be. It's time to wake up and recognize you were designed for greatness. And when the universe summoned you, it didn't ask whether you were prepared. It did not wait for you to get comfortable. It didn't care about your concerns. The cosmos beckoned, and you replied. But now you must believe it. Own it and walk forward with unwavering confidence. Stop apologizing for being brilliant. Stop cowering in the corner, waiting for permission to take your seat. You're not here to play tiny. You are here to create, lead, and influence in ways that others cannot even comprehend. But the first step is to embrace your divine mission. Enough with the excuses. Every time you wonder whether you deserve this, every time you mistrust your own strength, you are honoring the universe's purpose for you. You are telling the exact entity that formed you, developed you, and has guided you throughout your life that you are unworthy. Stop spending your time on self-pity. Stop wasting energy in self-doubt. It's time to embrace your divine mission, to acknowledge the truth about who you are and what you're capable of. The universe does not make errors. You were created for something enormous. Every event, hardship, pain, and triumph, everything you did was in preparation for this moment. You aren't weak. You're not inconsequential. You are a formidable opponent. You are here to accomplish things that others are too afraid to even think about. And yet here you are, doubting your every action and wondering whether you are really made out for this. Why are you holding yourself back? Why are you playing small when the world is ready for you to come into your power? Why are you looking for approval from others? Want to start living the life you've always wanted? It is now. You're ready. You have always been ready. But the only thing holding you back is your own thinking, your own fear, and your inability to completely acknowledge that you are intended for more. Allow me to tell you something else. You're not waiting for your mission to come to you. Your mission is already present. It's always been within you. You're not seeking for anything outside of yourself. The power, purpose, and reason you're here, it is in you. Right now, all you have to do is embrace it. All you have to do is stop holding back and let your genuine self emerge. You've allowed uncertainty to govern your life for far too long. It's time to go past that, to realize the potential for greatness that has always been inside you. Don't be terrified of your own might. Stop worrying about what will happen when you realize your full potential. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it will feel unpleasant. Yes, you will encounter opposition, but it is part of the process. You can't live the life you desire until you confront the fear that is attempting to limit your potential. You cannot fulfill your destiny until you overcome the obstacles that have been holding you back. And you can't let yourself keep questioning your abilities. Consider all you have gone through. Check out how far you've come. How many times have you been knocked down? They said you weren't good enough. They said you weren't competent. And yet, here you are. You're still standing. You're still pushing ahead. You're still soaring. How much more proof do you need that you are intended to do something incredible? How many times do you need to prove to yourself that you are capable of handling any situation? You've endured every storm, failure, and betrayal, and you are still here. That's not a coincidence. That is the purpose. Are you ready to quit questioning it? Are you ready to quit second-guessing every step and start taking control of your journey? Because this is your moment. This is your time. No more waiting for someone's approval. No more holding back because you're afraid of what others may think or say. Stop playing it safe because you're terrified of failure. You are meant for greater things, and now is the moment to claim them. So, if this message speaks to you, if you sense a pull in your spirit to step into your power, click the like button and subscribe. Let the world know you're ready. Let the world know you're here and not going away. Also, share this word with someone who needs it. Someone who is still hidden, waiting, and questioning their abilities. The more we share this energy, the greater the collective awakening and movement of humanity. We're finally getting to the heart of who they are and what they're designed to accomplish. Leave a comment below and let me know how you're preparing for your own successful homecoming. Now is not the time to shrink. Now is the moment to rise. You are not designed to be kept back. You were created to lead, create, and influence. Now is the moment to claim it. Don't allow doubt, fear, or rejection hold you back anymore. You're unstoppable, you're unequaled, and you're ready. And now the decision is yours. No more hesitating, no more questions. The cosmos has already spoken. You were intended for this. Every obstacle, betrayal, and moment of uncertainty was preparing you for this moment. Now is the moment to take a step forward, completely, openly, and without apologies. If this message spoke to you, click the like button, subscribe, and leave the number 77 in the comments to indicate that you are ready to accept your power. Share this with others that need to hear it. The time for waiting is past. You're ready. Now arise. If you're enjoying the content on Pure Wisdom and find value in the messages we share, I encourage you to subscribe. Based on the latest analytics, 93.9% of viewers are watching without subscribing. By subscribing, you not only stay updated with new content, but also support the channel's growth, allowing us to continue spreading wisdom for the chosen ones. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an important message. Let's build this community together.